and fish that we have to supplement the lake with. This was his initial budget and he hasn't updated it. The $3,500 is the additional cost of fish, which was not in his original budget.
The fish were donated by the, by some group.
Right,
No
we have
cost.
fish from
This
the
year.
Wildlife Commission and
Yeah.
we have fish from southern states.
Well, for instance, right here at the tree lighting, what is the $1,000? What is that for?
Okay, if you would turn to the tree lighting budget. Decorations, $150. The decorations on the tree, a lot of damage occurred to them and they're gonna need to buy some new ones. The refreshments, they budgeted $400. It was something over $300 this year for that. They budgeted entertainment and Spark added the cost of a sheriff in order to close off the street and provide some safety. One of our long-term concerns on that program is that as it grows and more people attend it over the years, we're concerned about the safety of the traffic and the parking, that kind of thing here. It may just eventually outgrow this location.
Go ahead.
Was all that food consumed last year? $300 some for it, was it consumed?
I don't know, somebody know?
Offhand, I don't know.
We need to find out.
That's a good question, I like it. I have a logistics question with the fishing tournament, and I don't know if anybody's even thought about this since this is the first year of it happening. I know it's by lottery and it's limited to 60 children. You know, what, in future years, will the same children be able to participate, and then I know they're getting a rod and reel and they're keeping it.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't give the same children the same rod and reel the next year, or will you increase the number of participants, because the ones that have a rod and reel,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know if there's actually room for more than 60 would be the problem. So, I guess logistics, would you let a new 60 in? Or would, if somebody got in the tournament, they just wouldn't get a new rod and reel because they got one the year before? Are we gonna keep a running list and so forth and so on?
I don't know if these rod and reels can survive a year.
No,
Kids, yeah.
These are cheap.
They really are.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what-
Rods and reels.
Yeah, I don't
what
know.
Bob did is he patterned this after Greensboro Parks and Rec project. They do very similar to this at
Lake Higgins.
Lake Higgins Marina. They do this and he literally copied the setup.
Yeah, the guy from Higgins came in and discussed it with us, told us exactly, and they said through years of trial and error, this has been the best way. And we determined the number based on what we thought was safe on the space that we have on the lake. Since we didn't want the kids to be too close together to where they might injure each other with rods and reels. But yeah,
But I could just,
yeah, he's seen, the guy who came and talked to us about it from Higgins said that they've done it several years and have worked out a lot of the kinks kind of for us ahead of time, so hopefully it'll.
Yeah, because I guess, you know, if somebody doesn't get to participate this year and then next year they don't get in the lottery again, but a kid that got in the lottery gets in next year, and the one that wants to get in hasn't gotten in for 2 or 3 years, and the one somebody gets in 3 years straight.
not fair, not fair.
Yeah,
It's hard.
Yeah, and
It
so
is
I was just
hard.
wondering logistically if anybody even thought of any of this stuff.
Well, I think the other issue, this year, this program is a free program, but I would encourage Parks and Rec to look at a minimal charge, to do a couple of things. One, it puts a little skin in the game by the person who's coming to it, meaning that they are more likely to actually show up for it.
Yeah.
Two, we can divide and create 2 classes, a Summerfield resident fee and a non-resident fee. That again, doesn't have to be $5 and $10, might be all it takes. but it just helps to differentiate the fact that, people from outside of Summerfield are going to sign up for it, and there should be some way to accept the fact that they need to pay a little bit more for the program. People, for the most part, pay for parks and recreation programs of that sort when they can't be completely, even if they're completely funded, it helps to make sure that people know that even though it's free, there's actually a cost. And $5 or $10 does that. And make sure that they show up, because if we have 60 kids that are in a lottery and inevitably 5 don't show up that day, then that's 5 kids, on a waiting list that may not have gotten that chance.
Well, we will try to, that's an idea I think we should tell Bob, is to have a list, so if there are kids who don't show up, that we have them kind of on call, or we call them.
Maybe we can do that,
That's a possibility, but
Yeah.
That was recommended to Bob, and he chose to set it up this way at copying Lake Higgins for our first time out. But we had definitely considered that.
And just FYI to, all involved, the total cost of the project, of course, is what gets included in the budget like you have it here. It's the gross amount, because of course, any donations would go in as revenue and the expenses are going in as expenses. So as you presented it, is the gross expenses included in the budget.
Right, all the, as we're learning to do these budgets, not everyone wrote their budgets up that way, but as we polish this and get accustomed to doing that, we will put it in that way. The wildlife habitat, hopefully you're aware that we designated 9 acres in the park as a wildlife habitat. It would have no development in it. It just has foot trails, and its main purpose is to leave it wild. When that project was submitted to the town council for approval, it mentioned that in future years, I would be coming back and asking for educational funding to go along with this, and that's what I'm starting to do here. I would like to add some educational signs. The typical thing you see in state parks and national parks with information about the wildlife and their habitats, things like that. We have there could be a whole series. One of the things that we could do with this is to spread it out over a couple of years if you would like, especially because it looks like the long-range plan is going to be more expensive than we had originally planned on. Metal signs average about $100. The full-color ones with graphics and photos, the really educational signs, vary from $300 to $500 each, depending on what material, whether you use embedded fiberglass as your material, that's what will carry the real vivid colors and things like that.
And I assume this is mostly a one-time with maybe some repairs and maintenance, like as ones get damaged or so forth, you would replace them, but most of this stuff happens one time.
Right, they have a life of between 10 to 15 years, depending on which material you choose to make them out of. They are all resistant to vandalism. They all have covers that are UV resistant, so the colors will last as long as possible. So they tell you to figure on 10 to 15 years. Many of ours would be in the shade. I would think that would last longer. If we don't have any vandalism, we should get a long life out of them.
Do you have any information of how long a sign has been designed to put in the sun, if you put it in the shade will last? Do they, can these people